Hello, friends. Welcome to part 21 of It Could Be. Today, we're diving into a powerful section where we'll clearly see how mental flexibility and inner suggestions, affirmations, can reshape the way we experience thoughts and emotions. This isn't just about the thought itself, but how we perceive it. Respecting others' lifestyles and respecting our own emotions, that's where real freedom starts. Let's get into it. The mechanism is simple. Understand this part well. A person who cannot respect others' lifestyles and clothing choices is triggered, stimulus, when confronted with a way of life or appearance they dislike, and this creates a reaction. However, someone who has learned to respect such differences will not be disturbed by the same stimuli. Look, the issue is whether one respects or not. Respect means acceptance, which in turn leads to desensitization. Once acceptance takes place, those same stimuli no longer produce a psychological reaction. So, how does one develop this respect, this acceptance? Through correct conditioning instilled by affirmations like, "We must respect everyone's life. No one has the right to interfere in someone else's lifestyle." This mechanism I've just described directly supports my theory on the formation and resolution of psychological problems. Repetition of phrases like, "We must respect everyone," gradually creates a suggestive effect, leading to mental programming in that direction. Once this programming is established, lifestyles or clothing choices that once disturbed us no longer do. This phenomenon shows that, just as with the "we must respect everyone" affirmations, repeated use of the word "it could be" can also create a new mental coding through suggestion, eventually rendering things that once disturbed us ineffective. I respect all my emotions. I respect both little and much of my anxiety. I respect my fear. Will it pass? I don't care. What if it doesn't? It could be. I respect my distress. I respect both little and much of it. I no longer live inside my soul. I don't stand guard over my emotions. Will it pass? I don't care. What if it doesn't? It could be. It could be. As you continue applying this affirmation pattern and establish a new mental coding, you'll see that self-compassion will emerge. No emotion or thought will disturb you anymore. Can someone who has developed tolerance toward others' lifestyles still be disturbed by them? Did others change their way of life? No. Then why are we no longer affected? Because we've developed an understanding of tolerance through new mental coding. How do we do this? Through suggestion. Which suggestion? We must be respectful. We must be respectful. For me, the hardest part of writing this book is deciding where to place each piece of information. Otherwise, I could have finished it in 3 days. That's why I ask you not to perceive the key insights only in relation to their chapters. Try to apply their logic across various areas. Highlight the important parts so your brain can better organize them. Turn the reaction and recoding pattern just above into an affirmation and apply it everywhere, from panic attacks to obsessions to anxiety. So, we'll feed our emotional tolerance through flexible affirmations like, "It should be," "It shouldn't be," "What if it happens," "What if it doesn't," and replace them with "it could be." People dress revealingly? Meaning, this is not normal. It could be. Meaning, it's normal, we must respect it. People dress conservatively? Meaning, this is not normal. It could be. Meaning, it's normal, we must respect it. My anxiety emerged? Meaning, it shouldn't have. If it did, there's a problem. It could be. Meaning, I respect it, it's not dangerous. What if it comes up again? It could be. What if it doesn't go away? It could be. With these flexible "it could be" affirmations, we'll first stretch our minds, then nourish our emotional tolerance, and eventually start respecting our emotions. Those who respect don't get affected. Those who haven't learned to respect do.
In summary, we can overcome all our psychological processes using only the flexible affirmation "it could be," because those who develop respect for differences no longer get disturbed by them. Those who develop tolerance toward emotional changes are no longer affected by them. This paragraph may be the essence of this book and the summary of my new psychological theory. Spend half an hour reflecting deeply on it. Those who develop tolerance toward their thoughts are not disturbed by their thoughts. Those who accept changes in their emotions are not affected by their psychological shifts. Can someone who has developed tolerance toward other lifestyles still be affected by changes in others' ways of life? Acceptance and commitment therapy, which has gained traction in recent years, follows a similar logic. However, this therapy does not claim there is no illness. It emphasizes the need to accept emotionally difficult but non-pathological states, like grief or pain, that fall below the threshold of mental illness. But this is not really new. The field already doesn't try to treat emotions below a certain threshold. It accepts them as normal. My theory goes much further. There are two flexible responses that prevent or help exit depressive episodes. I don't care, and it could be. I don't care. This is more effective for declarative thoughts. For example, when you say, my anxiety is too much, you activate this suggestion. It could be, this suggestion is most effective for conditional questions, like, what if it happens? Or what if it doesn't? Remember, a flexible response softens the blow. Soft concepts soften reality. Structures that bend and soften transform more easily. Just like metal, which is softened and bent before it can be reshaped. Obsession, the stepchild thought. Does a disturbing thought become an obsession just by popping into our mind? Or does its frequent reappearance make it obsessive? Can liking or disliking a thought be a clinical criterion? So, what is obsession? Clinical literature defines obsession using 3 key criteria. A negative thought enters the mind involuntarily and repeatedly. A thought that meets all 3 is considered obsessive, disordered, a disease, and we are led to believe it affects us because it is pathological. But this belief itself is fundamentally wrong. What affects us is not that the thought is inherently disordered, but that we perceive it that way. I recommend reading that sentence again. If you see a thought as a problem, disorder, illness, obsession, of course its appearance will disturb you. In fact, not even its appearance. Just the possibility of it showing up is enough to trigger you. If you mistake a mouse for a snake, you'll react as if you saw a snake. The issue isn't the mouse. It's your distorted perception of it. The industry doesn't even know what actually affects us. It presents perception problems as if they're problems with reality. They're sending us into battle, not with perception, but with facts. It's like blaming the weather instead of just carrying an umbrella. When a simple umbrella would solve the issue, they have us fighting clouds, weather, and rain. And when we're drenched, they say, see, the rain was heavy. That's what soaked you. In doing so, they make us more sensitive to clouds and storms. All psychological issues stem from this heightened or heightened by others sensitivity. They lay down an anxious, slippery, sensitive ground beneath us and blame us when we slip. Once someone believes the rain is to blame, they become hypersensitive not just to the rain, but even to the slightest cloud cover. And so we walk with our eyes fixed on the sky, not the ground. In this way, we were made guardians of our brains, watching over our thoughts like sky watchers guard the clouds. This is how obsession was created. Please watch my YouTube video titled How Obsessions Are Manufactured for more on this. These 3 criteria are trap criteria and have no scientific merit, because thoughts aren't inherently positive or negative. A chili pepper is still a pepper, whether hot or sweet. Hot doesn't mean negative. Every thought is just that, a thought. As for involuntary entry into the mind, this is the natural state of thoughts. Most thoughts come to the brain involuntarily. This is not unique to obsessions. It's not like we press buttons and manually invite each thought in, except for obsessive ones. No, thoughts, by their nature, come and go freely. With these trap criteria, people are being trained to guard their brains. They're made hypersensitive to a group of thoughts.
This frequent appearance of stepchild thoughts also cannot be a clinical measure because the brain is the home of thoughts. All thoughts come and go, sometimes often, sometimes rarely. If the girl you love enters your mind 100 times, that's normal. But if a painful memory enters 20 times, why is that obsession? Must only pleasant thoughts appear in our minds, only when we want them to? If you set faulty standards for certain thoughts and then brand them as science, experts, doctors, or psychologists, people start guarding their minds even when nothing is wrong. Then they begin chasing thoughts around in their heads. Seeing a group of thoughts as obsessive/broken/unwanted, they become hypersensitive to them. This increases the impact, which leads them to blame those thoughts again, since they've been convinced those thoughts are the problem. The logical next step? Try to get rid of the thoughts. And so the battle begins. But fighting a thought means hitting it without killing it. And any blow that doesn't kill only makes it stronger. This is the production, feeding, and impact mechanism of obsession. By defining certain thoughts as stepchild thoughts, the industry created obsession and the psychology of being affected. Do you see now how the rise of the mental health industry has paralleled the rise of mental health issues? This is no coincidence. Yes, just because a guest comes to your house doesn't mean they disturb you. It's your negative perception of the guest that causes disturbance. Just like how a fault line under a river can turn an event into a disaster. Alright friends, what we've learned in this chapter is simple but deep. An obsessive thought doesn't affect us because it's bad, it affects us because we label it that way. With the right affirmations, we can rewrite our mental coding. And when we say, I respect it, we end its power to disturb us. Remember, those who learn to respect their emotions, thoughts, and others' way of life stop being disturbed by them. In the next episode, we'll go even deeper into how flexibility and acceptance can transform your inner world. Take care of yourselves and don't underestimate the power of suggestion. See you soon.